Hello fans, it's Brian from New Age Hobbies again, here to do another out of the box segment. This one's going to be on the Trex 600 Electric Pro. That's this helicopter on the end. You ask, why are these other two helicopters sitting in front of you? Well, I brought them here because I wanted to show you where the Trex 600 kind of started from to where it has ended up today. This over here in the front is the Trex 600 Electric that they first released. It came out in an aluminum frame. It had a glass fiber frame, which is what you see here. It had a carbon fiber frame. It was released with a CNC head block with plastic blade grips, a belt-driven tail with plastic tail blade grips. The second one in the middle here was their ESP release. It came in two different types. It came with the CNC head, complete, but it had the black head and the blue head. You got the choice of a yellow canopy or a red canopy. It was a torque tube driven tail with plastic tail blade grips. They released it a little later on. They put the CNC blade grips in there also, which is black or blue. The one on the end here is the new release that Align has released, the Trex 600 Pro. This thing has a redesigned programmable CNC head with CNC tail blade grips. There are variances and changes within these helicopters all the way through, but our basic topics we're going to hit on today is going to be the ESP version and the Pro version. This version is no longer available unless you can find someone who has it. But I will go ahead and include it in with this real quick here. On the first version, the anti-rotation bracket was a solid bracket that mounted to the back of your frame, and it had a pin that came off your swash plate to control the anti-rotation. The newest versions now have an anti-rotation bracket also acts as an elevator bracket too. I'm going to move this on the side. I'm going to take your ESP version and your Pro version and turn them where you can see them. Okay, first off, I'm going to do this before I go ahead and get into the conversation with you guys. Everybody's going to look at my landing gear and say, hey man, what's wrong with the landing gear on this helicopter here? Why do they look funny? I turn the landing gear backwards on all the helicopters that I build so that when you remove the battery, it kind of keeps the center of gravity underneath the back of the helicopter so it doesn't flip over on you and fall back. A lot of guys that flip their helicopters over and they fall over and damage something. Well, if you kind of turn your landing gear backwards, it'll kind of keep the CG. It may still fall over, but it'll stay there if you have a receiver battery pack on it a lot better. If you notice, looking at these two helicopters, the ESP and the Pro, you see a 2-inch difference in height. Yes, they redesigned the whole thing on the Pro. The landing gear is shorter and a little beefier. The helicopter itself is a lot squattier and closer to the deck. I'm going to go ahead and pop the canopy off of the ESP. And then off the Pro. One thing I'll tell you that's different with the newer helicopters, the ESP version actually had 2 canopy mounts. The Pro actually has 4 canopy mounts, like the Trex 700, down low and up top. It makes it a little hard to get to your helicopter, but keeps your canopy from flying off, am I correct? Alright, here we go. You notice the frame's a lot squattier on the Pro, and here's the ESP. One thing that did change that made the helicopter supposedly fly a lot better, we will find out when we take it to the field, is they took everything and compressed it together. They moved your batteries back underneath the center of gravity. Your motor is moved up to the top, so they kind of compressed everything. Here you have a radio tray out on the front of this helicopter, like the Trex 700. Cool thing is you have a button that you push and release in the front, which takes your battery tray out. So you still have to use a Velcro strap to strap it to them, but you can push it in the front and lock it. You don't have to worry about strapping it to your particular helicopter. Another thing that changed on the Pro that the ESP didn't have was the ESP used belt cranks and it used a push-pull system. The new Trex 600 Pro is a direct-to-swash system. Your servos are turned up closer to your swash plate, and then on the back where your anti-rotation bracket is, it actually still kind of has a pull, one push-pull lever, but it is direct-to-swash. They moved your motor to the top end of this helicopter. Your motor on the ESP was on the bottom. One thing that they did change from the original version to these two versions is the first version actually had 3 bearing blocks, but they were made of plastic. It had a top bearing block, a middle bearing block, and one right underneath the main gear itself. This one here has 2 bearing blocks, and so does the new release have 2 bearing blocks, but they are CNC. The helicopters themselves are really, really nice. The engineering behind the Pro is really, really nice. The programmable head is something that you haven't seen on any of Align's previous helicopters. You actually have weights that you can put in your flybar paddles to make it a lot more stable for FC3 flight. You're able to program your head for FC3 flight and 3D flight. You've got positions that you can move on your bell cranks and positions you can move on your blade grips. This makes the helicopter more versatile, or it makes the helicopter more stable, whichever you want it to be. The helicopter is a torque-driven tube tail, like I said, but there are some changes they made back here in the back. On the ESP in the previous version, your servo was mounted on your tail boom, so you could adjust it back here on your tail boom, whatever you need to. If you crashed, you broke the mounts, whatever happened. On the new version, the servo is actually mounted in the back of the frame, like your 700, and they also did something about putting a solid carbon fiber drive linkage to your tail there. Excuse me. On your ESP version, you actually had just a little metal linkage to your tail. Other than that, the helicopters kind of stay the same with your boom holder supports, your tails. On your original one, you had a plastic tail casing. On this one, it came with a CNC tail casing, but it had a rod in the back. On the Pro, it's a CNC tail casing, but it's a lot beefier and a lot stronger. I don't know the reasoning behind that, but it's machined a lot better. It looks really nice, but for some reason they made that a lot beefier back in the back. I don't know the answer behind that. We're going to take this helicopter to the field and fly it and see how it flies, and you guys will get a chance to see it fly with us. It looks really, really good. I like the redesign. The new Pro kit comes with everything in the box. You get your servos, you get your gyro, you get a speed controller, which is the speed controller made by Castle Creation. It's an 80 amp speed controller. One difference in this helicopter that I'll hit a topic on, the original and this version, out of the box they flew off of a 6S pack. This version out of the box is designed to fly off 12S. So you can probably still get it to fly off a 6S, but why would you want to? You're just going to be back to where these here came from with no power. So it is a 12S system. For those guys who originally had these and they have those 5,000 battery packs, the 6S 5,000 battery packs, I tried to put two in here and it's really tight. A lot of guys will probably fly this off of 4,000 if they can get them in here, or 3,500 milliamp 2 6S packs. If there's nothing else that I can say about these helicopters, I like the redesign. This here did us really well. This is a pretty looking helicopter. We'll see how it flies in the field. Until I see you guys in the field next time, thank you for stopping by New Age Hobbies. We'll see you.